There's a perception that Solihull is an affluent area, but parts of the north of Solihull are as bad in terms of deprivation as anything that you will see anywhere else. And the voluntary sector has been battling for a long time to try and tackle those problems. So the Fair Share Trust investment was quite crucial in helping their cause.
It is an area with a lot of challenges. Three of the wards are some of the most disadvantaged, in the top 3 disadvantaged wards in the whole country. There's an awful lot of unemployment. There is not a lot for people to do. And really, fair share was what the area deserved.
So where are you at then?
Well, at the moment, right.
I think one of the main things that it's done, which is probably more of a side effect, is around getting people together. Knowing that you've got funding for this community for a certain amount of time has actually been very beneficial for us as a community, because there's been all sorts of people coming together and discussing, you know, where can we go with this and what can we do with it, rather than individual groups going off in their own direction and chasing funding for them. So I think probably that I think would be the key highlight of Fair Share, is helping the community focus and prioritise what it wants to do.
My name's Paul. I work for an organisation called Work Unlimited. We're a youth work organisation.
A lot of the groups are independent and self-running, and we kind of, well, we link people up when we can.
One of the main challenges I think we had was to communicate with the various communities, to let them know just what was available, what was going on, and how they can gain from it.
I think as a community it was quite an amazing thing. I think also we didn't quite know what to do with it. At that point the community sector was in its very early stages here. The infrastructure of the community had been kind of fairly low key for a long time.
There was not a lot of community spirit. There were a lot of groups who were struggling and needed some leadership, some guidance, some inspiration, and I suppose self-belief.
The thing that I'm proud of is working with groups to turn their ideas that have come from people that they've spoken in the community, to turn those ideas into a reality. Yeah, not too bad. We've got a cookery project for young people. We've got a tennis club for beginners. There's an employment and health scheme for refugees, a domestic violence helpline. So there's quite a broad range of services that have benefited. And some of those projects are tackling the biggest problems in the area, in North Solihull, which is, you know, poverty, unemployment, lack of skills. And hopefully, over the next couple of years, those projects will really start to make a dent in some of those issues for the benefit of everyone.
Well, some 12 years ago I was made redundant, and I started with community transport in a voluntary capacity, and I was lucky enough to be taken on by them full time, and here I am still here. Well, I suppose every day we make a lasting difference, because we pick people up, take them to day centres that couldn't get there without our help. And I think it's really important they get out and about.
How has community transport made a difference to the lives of your users at this centre?
Community transport have made a big difference. Without them we wouldn't be here. Basically, the elderly people can't get out from day to day without transport, so they can't get themselves here. So they've made a big difference in their daily lives.
Today we pick up a blind man who it would be virtually impossible for him to get out if it wasn't for us, because I have to lead him to and from the front door, to and from the bus, help him on the bus, and without our assistance he would just not go out.
Come on, stop. When I put my arms out there,
Community transport have made a lasting difference with Stan, one of our gents. He's blind. So there's no way at all he would get out and about and meet other people without their help.
Within Shirley Golf Club we have golf for disabled children, and I've been running that with a colleague for 12 years. So far we have coached around about 3,000 children There is always a uplifting story. A lady contacted me about 6 months ago to say that she had a 4-year-old, 5-year-old autistic son. She'd heard about what we do. Could we take him on? Well, we don't take individuals, it's very difficult. And normally we're in groups, they teach groups of 8, 10, 12 upwards. But we decided to take this young lad, and one of our pros got hold of him and started to teach him all the rudiments of golf. After the second or third time, his mother came to us and said, "You've changed his and our lives." He went home and persuaded his dad to buy him a special little set of clubs. We don't see him anymore. He's in the garden, practicing, swinging, enjoying himself. His whole behaviour has changed. Now, that's one child in hundreds, thousands that we've dealt with, but it's relevant in that that is what you can do to one particular household. There is also 2 or 3 schools that would not have been able to come here. We didn't have the funds to deal with them. Your fair share contribution has enabled us to add to the number of kids we're dealing with. If we hadn't had that funding, if we hadn't had those funds coming in, there's no question that we would have had to turn people away. The last thing we want to do, to turn somebody away who really wants the service or wants to join in, would be a tragedy. You have helped.
My name is Marge Milligan-Green and I'm the Development Consultant for Kingshurst Development Trust, KDT for short.
Tell us a story when KDT got together with other groups or residents to make a difference to day-to-day lives of people.
Yes, just before Christmas, KDT consulted with other members of the community and we decided to organise a community event, which was to highlight the sorts of things that KDT would like to do and how we could then engage with the community. And so one of my first jobs was to organise this community event, and we invited the health trainers, Fair Share Trust, the Fire Brigade and some local people to come and help us run the day. We try to work in partnership with lots of different organisations, and we were approached by Age UK Solihull to run a luncheon club for elderly people within the North Solihull area. And that luncheon club started back in January, and we've been running ever since. So we work in collaboration with Age UK to provide lunch for the elderly and the vulnerable and people with disabilities, and that's going very well. We've just been successful with some funding, again in partnership with Grow Organics, and they're going to help us to develop our garden space into a herb and vegetable patch so we can have sustainable food and healthy food for the luncheon club. I think the legacy of KDT will be our partnership and collaboration with other organisations, and also the volunteers that have been instrumental in making KDT a success.
Well, it started in last year, December, when we have our community outreach. That was the first project we did with KDT. And Madge Green talks about us getting involved and us becoming a voice in the community and touching the community and reaching others. I jumped to the opportunity because to let others know that there are people here that care about them. So that's why I get involved with KDT.
Within the community centre, we got groups. There's a drop-in for people that have had mental health problems, for instance. There's an art group that's run by adults, and that's a kind of social type art group. There's people like Trader here that work with refugees and asylum seekers, skills for jobs that help people find work.
The way this has developed, it certainly is a community effort. You've had so much input. Yes, we had Fair Share money. The Baptist Church put some money in, Solihull Council put some money in, and then groups themselves raised money. They were helped by groups such as Sustain, all sorts of other groups coming in to support the bid here.
When Fair Share was set up and we realised they'd got some money to spend within the area, I have to say they made themselves very accessible. They worked with you rather than against you. They didn't put up barriers. So when we applied for some funding, to continue the work of a project at our youth and children's worker. It was very easy, plain sailing really, from our point of view.
The need when I first started was the regeneration in the area. So around our building were a lot of new houses going up, some social housing, some private housing, and a lot of new families were moving in. So that it sort of worked out quite well really. The post started just as that was happening, so we could work with those local families moving into the area and give them some support, or clubs and a variety of different activities that they could, their children and young people could use.
I got involved with the 3 Trees on various clubs really. So we started the family club.
It all originally started because I booked the centre for a music project I was working on about 7 years ago. So
we'd play some bingo, and then we'd eat together. So, but it wouldn't just be on a separate table, you'd eat like communally.
As a result of that, I was invited to start a community choir here, which I did, which is still going strong and stronger after all that time.
It was very good because obviously it was within the community, so you didn't have to travel miles. It was on your doorstep. Obviously there was local people that you maybe knew, or local people that you'd seen around but you didn't really know them. So that was good because obviously when you're all in the same room together, you start talking and you make friends.
The most obvious and most recent support with the first stage of the redevelopment, the rebuild, I know straight away has opened the doors to other members of the community who have never been here before. With the way the building now is, it has a much more positive feel to it, and is much more inviting, and as a result of that, it is bringing more people through the door.
It all started in year 10 when I had no work experience, and one of the youth workers offered me a place here, so I took it up, and I was incredibly lazy for the first week, but then got to kick up the backside for the second week, and now I just can't let go because I've enjoyed it that much, and I'm still here now.
I think a lasting legacy for Northern Star is that we work in partnership with various organisations, with the community, really with anyone we can do, and that enables us to expand our service and create more opportunities for the local community.
When we started Untrade, we set up as a very, very informal group. I mean, the Fair Share Trust, I would say, have helped us grow as an organisation, become more sustainable, develop ourselves in order to become more professional as an organisation. Because when we received funding from them, other organisations started trusting us because they saw that if Fair Share Trust has invested in this organisation, then it must be providing a very good service to the communities. We work in partnership with so many organisations in the community. We work with Northern Star, and what we've been doing is working together so that we to encourage social cohesion. And I think that's very great because this area is was known in the past as to be an unwelcoming area for asylum seekers and refugees. But by working in partnership with other organisations, we're trying to change that. So we're trying to promote social cohesion, and I think that will have a lasting impact really in the future. What I've learned is if people come together, then they can solve local problems. And the fact that the Fair Share Trust has invested a lot of money in this area has helped in some way people come together in order to solve the problem. So that's a very good learning. From my personal experience as well, the fact that we received the funding from the Fair Share Trust has helped me access some training that I wouldn't have been able to access. And that has developed me as a person, and that has improved my personal skills, and I think that's a great legacy from the Fair Share Trust.
I think we've learnt the importance of long-term funding. Knowing that you've got a decent amount of money for a decent stretch of time has been good. Having a big chunk of money to spend quickly isn't the way to do things, well, not always anyway. And having small amounts is okay, but it becomes quite a kind of trivial sort of pot. I think having this amount And to say, well, how will we spend that over a period of time has actually helped, I think, helps learn how to manage large sums of money and also to think more strategically.
One of the big challenges to us as a panel, and I think to the groups, was the emphasis, quite rightly, especially in retrospect, that Fair Share had on sustainability. And the way that, having had a grant from Fair Share, encouraged the groups to go and seek further grants and to gain sustainability in that way. And I think one of the legacies is that these groups, having been funded, are here to stay.
I think if they said you got this for 30 years, perhaps sustainability wouldn't have been taken very seriously. But I think saying, well, we've got 10 years, let's make sure by the end of it, what we've got can keep going has happened, yes. I guess I would have liked to have seen a bit more work on the sort of asset-based stuff. Which, I mean, I can say that because we had some support with the work here at the community centre. I guess I would like to see a bit more of that because I think community assets help community life if they're genuinely owned by the community. But I think, in a sense, perhaps the most important stuff has worked, which is around people. The sector is stronger. Relationships between individuals and also between organisations is far stronger than it was. And groups did discuss together. Having the Fair Share as a shared resource meant that we worked together, and I think that is something that will outlast probably most of the other stuff as well. So that's been a great legacy for us here.